Hello, vinyl community. This is my second video in a series I hope to keep going for a while. It's classic jazz albums, little mini reviews. I'll have two on each video. Maybe they are not all classics, but they're very well known. And all of these that I will be reviewing, they are readily available as I speak as reissues. You can buy them online anywhere, record stores. You can order them if they don't have them in stock. So, my first review, this will be one of the hardest reviews I'm sure that I will ever do. I'm really conflicted about it. I'm just nervous. So I'll get on with it. This first one is Eric Dolphy, Out to Lunch, on the Blue Note label. This was released, well, it was recorded in February of 1964. This is an iconic Blue Note cover. Out to Lunch. Look at that, they have the little sign on the window with the clock hands. Beautiful, beautiful. And on this one, I will show you the Blue Note label, which these are the classic Blue Note labels. I will not show them from now on, just so you know what the Blue Note label looks like. The reflection there. Kind of hard to get it. Anyhow, that's the Blue Note label. It's the classic, and they use that nowadays. Now this album, Out to Lunch, like I said, it was recorded in February '64. This was Eric Dolphy's only release on Blue Note Records, because just a few months after this was either recorded or released, he died. He was only 36 years old. I believe he was on tour in Europe with Charles Mingus, the bass player, his group, and they were in Germany, and I'm not sure if he was aware that he was a diabetic. He probably was, I'm not sure. But basically he went to diabetic shock, and there's two versions of the story here. I don't know which is true. The first version is they took him to the hospital and maybe they gave him too much insulin. He went into a coma and died. The second version of the story is the doctors assumed, since he was a black jazz musician, that he had a heroin overdose. So they took him to the hospital and basically did nothing, waiting for the drugs to work themselves out of the system. So I don't know which is true, but anyhow, that's a little background on that. Now this album, I'm going to say it's not for everyone. If you look at the all-time top 10, top 20 jazz albums, this album almost always comes in the top 10. It is avant-garde. You know, if you hear free jazz, that's pretty much what this is. I will tell you who plays on the album, and then I'll kind of get back to that. We have got Freddie Hubbard on trumpet, Eric Dolphy plays alto sax, flute, and bass clarinet. Bobby Hutcherson plays vibes. Richard Davis is on bass, and Anthony Tony Williams is on drums. Now, when they recorded this, Tony Williams was 18 years old. 18 years old. Which he was a fantastic young drummer. So he was on one of the top 10 classic albums when he was 18 years old. It's like, wow. That's pretty wild. I have a love-hate relationship with this album. I'm not into free jazz, avant-garde. It's interesting. You know, the sounds on this album, the sounds, I'm talking about the sounds, the vibes, the saxophone, they're amazing. They sound really good. Now the songs themselves, I'm going to be speechless for a lot of this video, so and I won't know quite what to say. Like I said, the sounds are truly amazing. The songs, in my opinion, I don't know, I wouldn't call them amazing. Everybody is kind of doing his own thing, you know. You got the Tony, the drummer, bass player, Bobby Hutcherson playing the vibes. But, and also, this particular album I have right here, this is one of the Blue Note 75th anniversary reissues. So, I didn't pay that much for it. They're very affordable. The pressing quality on this particular album, it's okay. I would not brag about it. Now, I wonder if... Oh, also, I have listened to this on headphones, which is a lot better, in my opinion, than listening through speakers on this particular album. Also, I'm sure Music Matters, or one of the audiophile labels, I'm sure they have made a copy of this, released an issue of this. And that would be very interesting. That would increase my listening pleasure for this album. Because like I said, the sounds are really cool. And like I said, I'm not into avant-garde, but I realize the significance of this album. It was one of the earlier free avant-garde jazz records, and it is one of the best. So, now, would I recommend it to somebody? If you're just getting into jazz, I don't think I'm going to recommend this album to you, because there's a chance that it might scare you away. Seriously, in my opinion. Now, if you're currently listening to jazz and wanting to explore, I would wholeheartedly recommend getting this album. You may love this. It's not my favorite subgenre. I go to a record store The guy's name is Tim. He's the manager. And he's not overly into jazz, but he's listened to quite a bit of jazz. He loves Eric Dolphy. He loves this stuff. So it's like any other type of music, you know. I have my favorites and other people have their favorites. So, and like I said, he just met a untimely early death. And everything I've read about him sounded like he was like a really, really good guy. But he wanted to explore different avenues in jazz. So, very good album though. Iconic. Okay, let's switch the music here to the next. It will be Wayne Shorter, and the album is Juju. I will cue it up here and get it started. Okay. Now this album by Wayne Shorter, it's, surprise, another Blue Note album. Which, Blue Note has so much classic jazz on it, and I love Blue Note. You can see Wayne Shorter up looking through the reeds or bamboo shoots, maybe. Now the players on this album are Wayne Shorter on tenor sax, McCoy Tyner on piano, Reginald Workman on bass, and Elvin Jones on drums. A really solid group there. Now this album was recorded, when was it? It was actually recorded in August of 1964, but it was released in 1965. And during these 3 years, I think 64, maybe 65, 66, Wayne Shorter released one album in each one of those years. And to me, it's almost like a trilogy, because I think Juju was recorded just a couple months over the first in this trilogy, which is Night Dreamer. So then Juju was recorded a few months after. And then after that, well, actually not too many months after that, Speak No Evil was recorded. And these three albums are, to me, they're in a similar vibe. I don't know what the subgenre would be on these albums. I think I would call it post-bop. I've seen some describe it as hard bop, but I think I would use post-bop. So, like I said, this was released in 1965 on Blue Note. Now, I don't know if you can hear it on this first song, which is Juju. The sax playing reminds me of Coltrane. But I will explain a brief history, very brief, of Wayne Shorter. In the 50s, Wayne was a member of the Jazz Messengers, or Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. And as time went on, I think he wrote the great majority of the songs of the Jazz Messengers when he was in the group. Such a good songwriter. He always has been. He just has a knack for that melody that will stick in your head. So I think it's great. And like I said, after, I'm not sure what year it was, 73 or so, he and Joe Zawinul, the pianist, who used to play with Cannonball Adderley, they formed Weather Report, the jazz fusion group. I think they had Jaco Pastorius in there as a bass player. And they were very good. I've only got a couple of their albums, but I want to get more of Weather Report. So anyhow, now there's a second song on here. It's called Deluge. And on the liner notes on the rear, Wayne explains this song. He kind of wrote it as a like the rain coming down, because sometimes he will ascend and other times he'll descend in his playing. It's a little beyond me, but it sounds good. Excellent. The third song on here, and I'm naming these songs because these songs are just, they are great songwriting. So the third song is House of Jade, which McCoy Tyner on piano, he tinkles the ivories at the beginning, kind of like an Oriental style. Now this is a little slower, but beautiful, fantastic. And then on the second side, the first song is Mahjong, like the, is that a game? I think, Mahjong. Anyhow, it's Oriental, a little bit, which I think Wayne, I think he married a Japanese woman. I think she was Japanese. So I think he got into, Buddhism and all that, which I think affected his songwriting. Made it sound really good. Now this is something, a sidebar. Well, as far as rating the album, which I didn't rate the Eric Dolphy album, because I'm not gonna, you make your own choice. Whatever. Like I said, I would recommend it. Anyhow, this album, I'm gonna give it 5 stars. Just beautiful, beautiful. As a sideline, I remember seeing on the internet not too long ago, there was this younger, maybe in his 20s, a musician, a sax player. He kind of dissed Wayne Shorter, because Wayne Shorter's still living. At least I think he is. He was playing last year, I believe. And this younger dude was knocking Wayne Shorter for turning his back on jazz or hard bop or something. I don't know. So anyhow, I went to this, I caught a couple videos of this younger kid and his group, which they sounded really good, but they played like the hard bop from the early 60s, which is fine. I love it. But this, I don't know, this kid just didn't like Wayne expanding his vision. I didn't quite get it. And they did talk to Wayne Shorter about this, because this kid put something on the internet. And Wayne Shorter said, he said, well, that was 50 some years ago, to begin with. I am going to change. And also, he said basically, I can't play that stuff now. You know, as you get older, you lose, you know, which I'm a testament to that. You lose some abilities. But anyhow, that's it for the reviews for today. Two very good albums, very different albums, but I would recommend them both. So this is Bradley. Thanks for watching. And if you're like an extreme Eric Dolphy fan, leave me a comment, you know, bash my head in. But whatever. Comment, subscribe, like, whatever. I will see you later. Goodbye.